Okay, there was the announcement. And with that, I'd hand it over to Mike. Over to you.
Good. Okay. Well, Aisha, thank you so much. And what a brilliant welcome. And what a pleasure it is to be addressing a group of people in such a distant place where the time zones are quite a few hours apart. So it's a great pleasure to be with you. What I want to talk about today is what I've been developing. As Aisha said, I've been working with Wordsmith Tools for quite a long time now. And let me just share the screen out so that you can see what I'm up to. This is the software, the latest version of the software that I've been developing, and I've licensed it to the MCRN, and we're going to sort of explore some of its facilities. It's been going for over 20 years, so the software has developed considerably. But over the last year or so, I've been migrating from a existing Wordsmith 8 to a new Wordsmith 8, which is 64-bit. That's a highly technical thing, which I don't want to sort of bore you about, but it's a more powerful way of working with the computer. It allows you to use more of the machine's memory. It should be much more efficient. And in so doing, I've had to rewrite a lot of things because Microsoft and all of this world is constantly changing. So it keeps me on my toes. I am by original training a language teacher, an English language teacher, and worked in ESP for a long time. But then I got interested in creating software, really just as a hobby. And that's how Wordsmith and any previous work I did started off. What we're going to do today is we're going to be using some of the Shakespeare texts, which you have had a link to download, and I'm hoping people have managed to do that. I've got a copy of them here somewhere. Yes, there we go. And if you've managed to download and extract them, they come in a zip file. You will find that you've got them divided into 3 sets: comedies, historical, and tragedies. And if we look at the tragedies, then you've got the basic plays here. So there's Romeo and Juliet. And if we pull it up, there it's visible in Notepad, and it shows you what you get with this particular version of the play. And so if I scroll down here, then here, this speech here is by Romeo, and it's 30% of the way through the play. And the word Romeo and the number 30% is encased in angle brackets. So the software will ignore that. It will just use the actual words. Romeo says, "The exchange of thy love's faithful vow for mine." So that's the format of the text that we're going to be using. Right now, of course, Wordsmith will work with lots of texts and indeed with lots of languages. And so in the language settings here, you can see various settings that might apply if you choose to work with Arabic or Chinese or Portuguese or whatever. You can choose that. In the case of English, I prefer myself, and I think most people would, to consider an apostrophe to be a character which you might accept as part of a word. So, for example, in the word doesn't or won't, the apostrophe might well be a useful symbol to not break the word, but to carry right through. And so I will allow an apostrophe, but I won't allow it at the start of a word. I won't allow it at the end of a word, because those two are blank. And then I've got various other settings here to do with English. So do I want to allow hyphens in my words? So, for example, is self-access or a word like that, is that to be considered two words, self and access, or is it one word? And these are various settings that you can adjust for yourself. Now, let's go back to the actual plays that we've got. Those are the plays here, the tragedies down here, and in folders above, you've got the Romeo and Juliet characters. So if I open up that folder, then I find all of the different characters specified, and there is Juliet in the middle of them, and that will give you all the speeches by Juliet, only Juliet. And of course, it's a bit ridiculous. You get all the speeches by musician number 2, or all the speeches by Paris and Peter and the various characters in the play. Now, we won't be using those today. So when we choose the text, we're not going to be using these folders of characters. We're only going to be, well, for this particular purpose, we're only going to be choosing the actual texts of the plays. Let's go straight in and give it a try. And we're going to make a word list. So we click this W and that should appear on the screen looking like this. And then we're going to go, we always do this, File, New, because some new process, and choose our texts. Press the button for choosing text. And here comes a window which says, which text do you want to use? And I've got my texts to be choosing from the Shakespeare here. Now, there's Shakespeare, and I've got comedies, historical, and tragedies. So I'll take the comedies, and I will select not the yellow folders, but all of the plays right down to the end there. So they're all selected. And then I can just drag that over to the right, or I can press this reddish button and that selection will go over to the right-hand side. So I've now got 17 stored, it says down at the bottom. Okay, now I'm going to go up here and go for the historical plays and do the same thing, select all the plays, and then just press the button and they go over. Now I've got 27 stored. And then I go up and I choose tragedies, and I choose those tragedies and click there, and I've got them selected. So I've now got 37 plays select. That was quite a lot of trouble. And I would be very helpful if I could save that so that another time I can just go back and get that selection easily and not have to be picking out carefully all those texts. So what I'm now going to do is I'm going to press this Save Favorites button, right? And it says, what would you like to call that selection of texts? And I'm going to call it Shakespeare. And let's do that and press Save. So I've saved that information as to what my favorite text, one of the sets of favorite texts it is. And I then press OK. I've got the text selected. Now, make a word list. So I'm going to press the button and wait for it to come through, and I get a word list. And down the bottom here, you can see that the screen is showing which ones it's working on as it works through. And it makes me a word list of all of the plays. Right. Now, what have I actually got here? Perhaps I will increase the font. Let me see if I can do that. Settings, font, and put it to size 13. That might be better. Now, can I have feedback from somebody, please? Is that font a good size for you? Can you see it? Mimi or
Yes,
somebody,
yes.
can you?
I think on my end it's okay.
It looks okay, does it, on
Yeah.
your screen? Good,
Yeah.
thank you very much. Well, that's fine. Let's leave it at 13 then. People can generally see. Probably when I was showing you the actual text of Romeo and Juliet, the font was possibly too small or too indistinct, I'm afraid. That was in Notepad. But now in Wordsmith, we can leave it at 13. What have we got? Oh, maybe I should wait now and say, those of you who haven't, those of you who've done this sort of thing before, have used Wordsmith before, will find this very straightforward and easy, I think. But what about those of you who have only just downloaded the software, and does anyone want to give feedback as to whether they succeeded or had trouble with this?
That's actually a good thing to ask, Mike, because
Yes.
there might be some people who still haven't or have little experience with making the first step, which is the word list. So I'm just going to leave this question to the audience and maybe wait a while. As we all know, this is also a hands-on workshop. You were given the license for a stipulated time frame. You also could download the text from his website. So have you tried it on as we are going along? I'm going to give some time for the audience to respond. Shima says there's a problem with the software. It's asking me to download again. Maybe Mike can say something about the disclaimer earlier. Right.
Somebody's having trouble downloading the software, or the software is not installing right or something.
That's what Shima is saying, one of the participants. Yep.
Right. Well, one thing you can do is just simply go to the Wordsmith website. Let me just put that up. And download page, and just simply download from here, right? You click on this link here, and then you download on this click here. And hang on, that one's going to give us, yes, that's going to be okay, right? And when that all comes through, then you click on it to install the software. That should install itself.
All right, can I ask if anyone else has tried the steps Mike just said just now, and is it working for you? Some of us are trying to ask if you could slow down a bit, Mike.
Yes, I can. I can go back and do it again to show you again, because otherwise it goes so fast and it's difficult to remember exactly what was done.
I think in terms of the downloading, how many of you still have issues downloading? Please raise your hand using the button on Zoom, the reaction button. No. So if there's one here, who's the raised hand over here? Sorry. Two. There's two people still with downloading issues. I have to say, are you using Mac? Farhani, you can unmute. Yeah, the issue is with Mac, I believe. This is because you have to download, as Mike has informed us earlier in the email that we have sent you. We need a particular installed app to enable that feature. But so if you are on Mac, let's just watch first the demonstration. And for Farhani, you can unmute and tell us specifically what was the issue. Farhani, you want to say something? If it's all right, because I don't want to, spend too long on the downloading. Majority of you have downloaded, I assume. If that's okay, Farhani and Shima, you can watch the demonstration first, and then we will get over to you.
Okay. Now, the other thing that people might have needed was to find the actual Shakespeare, and it's here in extras.
Right.
And there's the link for it. So on my website, you will find the Shakespeare corpus if you wish to download it, if you haven't had time so far. But then it needs to be decompacted. Yeah, it's in a zipped form. Right. So you need to, I'll go back and show you again about making the word list though. So let's just close that.
All right.
And try again. And we've got the software running, and it's got three main tools: a concordance tool, a keywords tool, and a word list tool. And today, for the start, we're using the word list tool. So we click that, a word list tool appears, and then the first thing to do with pretty well all the tools that I make is you do want to do a new operation. So it's start with file new. And then it says, choose your texts. And we chose texts. How did we do that? Well, we pressed the button that said something like choose texts. Now it says change selection because we've already got some chosen, but we chose text like this. And we had a window that appeared, and the window was clear at the start. So let's just clear that. So it was nothing chosen. And then we went to our Shakespeare texts, which are, in my case, I've put them in this particular location here with various texts. Shakespeare, there we go. See, I've got Sinhala and Setswana, various languages that people work with Wordsmith with, Swedish and so on. But there's our Shakespeare plays. And I went and selected them, taking quite a lot of bother to avoid unnecessary text I don't want to have included. So I went like this, and I went down and I chose all of my comedies by clicking on the top and holding down the shift key and clicking at the bottom and selecting like that. And then I just simply press the button to make them go over to the right, and they are then selected. And it says I've got 17 stored. And I did the same thing with the tragedies and the historical plays. But then I showed that it would be possible to save a set of favorites. So I'm going to clear that and just get the favorites now. And what I called Shakespeare there was what I made just now. And so I've got that saved, and I just open it up again, and I've got my 37 texts selected. All okay. So once they're selected, the word list settings window says, well, what do you want to do? Make a word list, or do you want to make a batch of word lists, one for each play, or do you want to make an index file? Well, we're going to do all of those. So let's just make the word list first. So we make a word list, wait for it to come through, and it doesn't take very long. And there we've got the 37 plays being processed, and we get one word list for all 37 plays. And the most frequent word in Shakespeare, unsurprisingly, is the word the. And they're all just function words at the top. Not any interest in any of those words, really. Probably, most cases. We've got a frequency list. Okay, so that frequency list goes right down, and at the bottom, we've got words that only come once. And the last word is zwaggered at 25,000 and so something, right? And if we want to see if a particular word is, what if we want to find if there's a particular word in the list? Does Shakespeare use the word, let's say, is the word kiss available in Shakespeare, right? So let's try just type in K-I-S-S. And there we've got it, right? If I go to the alphabetical side and type in kiss, then what do I get there? Oh, hang on, let's try that again. K-I-S-S. Oh, I've got three S's. That's no good. There we go. In the alphabetical side, I find that we get the word kiss coming 184 times in all of those plays. And then we've got kissed with an apostrophe in it, which of course would not be modern English, but it means the same as the word below, kissed. And then we've got kisses and kissing. And those are the forms that it seems that all the forms that we've got in this particular, I think it's an Oxford University Press version of Shakespeare from about 1916 or something like that. So it's a sort of in modern English, it's in Shakespearean English, but it's not the folio of the turn of the 16th century. It's not. It's the sort of standard Shakespeare text that we study in schools and that people normally refer to. So those are the different forms that we've got of the word, of these words. And so we've got a whole lot of words. Some of these are words which are not in common use now. So kirtle and kirtles, I think that's clothing, but I can't remember quite what sort of clothing it means. And then we've got this interesting word, look, kitchened, right? Somebody is kitchened. What's that about? Let's have a look and see. I don't really know what it is in all of the Shakespeare plays. There's a reference to kitchened. Okay, so let's go for compute a concordance, right? Oh, it can't find the text. Why not? What's happened? Oh, have I? Let's see. My texts are there. Something is wrong. That's not good. Okay, let's try another way then. Go here and start a concordance off, and we go file new. We've got the same 37 text chosen, and we want kitchen. Kitchened was the word, wasn't it? Let's see if we can find that. And there is the word that we wanted to see. Something is kitchened, and it's from the Comedy of Errors play. Okay. Now, what did we do then? We wanted to find a word in context. I'm not going to save that. We wanted to find a word in context, and normally we should be able to just, let me see why we've got a problem here. We've got all the plays there, and Wordsmith not behaving the way it should, because it said it couldn't find the text. I don't know why that was. Let me try again. Try the word wind and compute concordance. Is it going to complain? Yes, it's saying it can't find the text files. Today is obviously going to be a problem day. We're getting difficulties. This is definitely not what should be happening at all.
Maybe we can ask the audience if that worked for you. If you were following Mike very closely earlier, were you able to get the concordancing for the word kitchened using the double tap on the word on the word list? Has anyone tried that yet?
You should just be able to select a word and then go compute concordance or shift control C, and it should just go straight for it and generate a concordance. And that isn't happening, and I don't really know why. I've never seen that before. It's giving me trouble today now. Why is it giving trouble? It's going to, let me try closing that down, and I'm going to restart. And
just for your information, Mike, it's working fine with me. I can't be looking at the screen because I have a split screen happening right now, and I don't know whether our participants are writing anything on the chat box. Maybe I'll need Mimi and Aidit to look at that. But at the moment, it's working for me.
Okay, let me try again. This is a, let's put the settings here to the font of 13 that we wanted. And try again. And let's say kitchen. Well, I'm going to just go for ordinary kitchen and just try again. And there we've got it. So that's all right. We've got some kitchen, but we've only got 2. So let's see if we do that. Now we're getting kissing coming, plenty of kissing. And we should have 27 kisses if we do that. Let's see if we can get 27 kisses coming up. And we've got 27 kisses. So, okay, that's what you should be able to do. You should be able to have a word list and then just go straight to the context by going compute, choosing the word, and then going compute concordance. Are people managing to do that sort of thing?
Anyone can unmute at this point if you have. Farhani says yes. So I think that should be fine if we can. Yeah. Anyone else who would like to write?
Okay. Yeah, yes, for me.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Yes, good. Okay, well, as long as a few can do it, then it probably is working all right. I don't know why I had trouble. Maybe it's something to do with Zoom, or I just don't know what the cause could be. But anyway, I've got several concordances on my screen. I'm just going to close them for now because I want to go back to the word lists and see what it is we've actually got. So we've got a frequency list with all the words, and the top words, as you would expect, are grammatical. And then if we go down a bit, if we go down here, for example, number 45 or 43, there we're beginning to get some lexical forms, but still a lot of function words. And then when we go down to perhaps about 150, 200, there we go, 123, 122, 121. Doth is more of a function word, and then 119. So most of those words now, when we get down to about 100, over 100, number 100 in the list, are lexical words. And they're obviously in frequency order. And you've got the alphabetical list as well. And you've also got some statistics. Now, what do you actually get with this? It's a lot of numbers, and you may be interested or not interested in all those numbers. If you want to know how many sentences there are in each play, then there's the number. But does a sentence mean anything very much in the case of a play? Perhaps it's not particularly relevant because it's a different kind of text from an ordinary piece of text. So we've got about 60,000 sentences altogether in all the plays, and there are 2,000 in Antony and Cleopatra, and just a bit less than 2,000 in Coriolanus, and so on. And the mean length, the average length of each of those sentential utterances is only about 10 words, 10 and a half words, 10.49 words. So they're relatively short sentences. And if we scroll further over, then we get how many 27 letter words do we get? Well, there seems to be one altogether. In all the Shakespeare plays, there's a 27-letter word. Which word it is, I don't know. But obviously, there are lots and lots of zeros here. And so there's 4 17-letter words, and you get statistics. Most of those statistics are of no interest at all to you, but they're available if you need to check them out. And then you get a list of the file names, and there they are. I think they're in, are they in alphabetical? No, they're in order of the folder they were in, I think. And how many words there were in each one, that's tokens, in that tokens column. And then you've got some notes. All of the notes are now quite a lot improved in the new version of Wordsmith, so you get much more information about how many words there were that were being processed and how many different sections and so on, and what the different settings were when the work was done. So the word list settings here today are set that I don't want to see any word that has a frequency less than 1. Well, that's a minimum setting anyway. A maximum frequency that a word could have is this huge number. So that's not going to be a problem. The minimum number of texts the word must appear in is 1 text. So I could change that setting and say, I want to do another word list of the Shakespeare plays, but I want to have only words which come in 3 texts at least, right? Take out the words which come in very few texts. And in the case of Shakespeare plays, that's probably not a sensible thing to do. But if you're dealing with, for example, academic texts in various fields, you may say, well, there are very specialized terms in some of the texts, and they are so specialized that they're only going to be in maybe 1 or 2 texts. And I'm not interested in those super specialized terms that I'm going to be studying of my academic corpus. And so I want to change the setting to say not just 1 text, but any words in my word list must come in, say, 5 texts. Now, how would I do that? Let's go back to the main software here, the main sort of controller, this one here, the one with the 3 big buttons, C, K, and W. And then we've got various settings. I've just looked before at language settings, and we've got word list settings. If we click this, it will open up, and then we can say how many texts. There's minimum text 1, and I could change this number to a different number. So I could say 2 or 3 or whatever I want. And maximum text, well, I've got 100 million. It's never going to get to that maximum. So there are various settings of, these are settings to do with what you're going to get. In other words, when you make a word list, what will you get in it? If you change the settings so it must have only words that come in, say, 5 texts, like this, there, then what you will get will be only the words that come in 5 texts when we make a word list. Right. We've got the other thing to notice is this thing called what you will see. So what you will get is what the machine will use as it works its way through your corpus trying to do the work. And then what you will see, it will be various columns that you maybe don't want to see, or you can switch some columns off if you want. And there are a couple of settings there to affect how the thing will look. There are lots of settings, and there isn't time to go into all the detail of all of them, and I think you'd get bored to hell. But this is what we've done. We've made a Shakespeare plays word list. Now let's do something else. I'm going to close that down, and I'm going to make a word list with my 37 texts. There we go. And I'm going to get back my favorites here, Shakespeare. And then I'm going to make a batch of word lists. In other words, I'm going to have one for each play. So if I do that, it suggests that I might like to use a folder name beginning with LST, because it's going to be a word list, and LST is a word list, and then it puts today's date. But I'm going to erase today's date and just call it MCRN Shakespeare. And it's going to make a set of word lists. It's going to then zip them all up into one container. I can allow it to keep the word lists. Let's try that as well. And it's going to, the zipped container will contain one file with all the individual results in it. Now I'm going to press OK and see what we get. And it's working its way through. As you can see down here, the plays are working through, and we're going to get a word list. And I think it should keep both the word lists and the zipped file both. Okay, now it's made a zipped up object which contains all of our word lists. And there they are. So I can go to any of them and I can say, okay, I want to see the Tempest, right? And so double click it. And now here I've got the word list of the Tempest. Okay, so we've still got the as the most frequent word, and we've got an alphabetical list just like we had before, and there they are. Okay, now let me just see whether we got the word list in my folder. I made a in my documents. This is where the results go, is into my documents. The standard Windows My Documents that you get, everybody gets that. Wordsmith 64.8 and Saved Data. That's where everything will have gone. And there's the folder that we made just now called LST MCRN Shakespeare. And I've got the word list, but it has actually not saved them separately. So there they all are, right? It didn't manage to keep them. So let's just open that, and then I'm going to copy them. Copy them all. Just press copy. And then I'm going to paste them down below. So I've now got the actual word lists as well as the zipped up collection. So there's something I need to fix there, that it didn't keep them. Okay, so now I've got a zipped up. Let me show you what I've got. If I go back to the word list tool, I've got, it remembers some of the stuff I've done recently. If I right click when I start the word list tool up, then it remembers some of the last few things I've done. This is the last thing we did just now. We made the Shakespeare batch word list zip. In other words, that's the one which contains a list of all the plays, and where we can just double click and go and see any given play. Right, now I think it's time for me to stop a little bit and see whether that process is working for people in general.
Right, thanks, Mike. I'm okay so far. I mean, I just realized that because I have an individual license for your 62-bit of the 8th version, it does look a little different. I think Mimi and I might have the same one. but that's fine because we can still follow you. But let me just give a chance to the audience. Are you able to keep up with Mike or are you able to keep up with us this far?
I can go back and repeat anything if people would like that.
Anyone can unmute and let Mike know now, or forever hold your peace.
Yes, it's okay. We have been following.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Abdul Hakim Said.
I can't follow. I'm so sorry.
Yating or Chen.
Yeah, it's
Which part would that be, Yating?
I think for the word list is okay.
But not the batch, right?
Yeah, the batch part I cannot.
Okay, let me go back. I'll just show you again how the batch was created. Shall I, Yating? Okay. So let's
Thank you
go
so much.
back.
So sorry.
Don't worry, it's absolutely not in the slightest degree a problem. I selected my text before, didn't I? So I've got 37 selected. And instead of press this one, make a word list, I chose make a batch. Press that. And it offers me LST with today's date and time. And I mean, today's date and time is fine. Obviously, it will be a different date and time every time you do it. So it guarantees that we get a new folder. But I chose to change the name, but I could leave it like that. And I chose to zip everything up. And I actually asked to keep the zipped and the word lists, but it didn't succeed. There's something wrong. I need to fix that. So that's not working. Let me just change that. And I wanted to make one file with all the individual results, that's all 37 word lists inside one zip file. So those were my choices that I wanted to do, right? And I pressed OK. And it starts going through. And instead of making one word list of all of the Shakespeare plays, it makes 37 word lists. And it then compacts them into a zip file so that we can then open the zip file and choose which one we want to examine. When it's finished the work, it then tells you that it's made it, and you press OK, and then it lets you choose them. So I can see Othello there, and I can just double click Othello, and then I get the play Othello, get the word list of Othello like that. And in theory, I should be able to say, I want to see those cases of Othello in, I want to do a concordance of that. And unless it says I can't, yes, it's not complaining. That's all appeared. You probably found it disappeared. It's because I've got a 2-screen computer, and on my left screen is where this concordance suddenly appeared. So I then suddenly pulled it over. But that's what happens. It's all working okay.
I'm with you so far, Mike. The badge, maybe you could help emphasize the difference between doing a badge and what the advantage that would be, just to make them clear.
Well, the difference is that if you want a word list of all of the plays, that will give you, lots and lots of cases of the words in one word list of all 37 plays. Whereas the batch system gives you a word list for each play. Now you can make your own word list by yourself. Just simply go start the word list tool up and say File, New, and then just choose one play, right? Where's my Shakespeare? There it is. And tragedies, and I'm going to choose Romeo and Juliet, and there it's selected. I've got one play, it says Romeo and Juliet, and I can make a word list. I can't make a batch because it's only got one selected. So I then make a word list, and there's my word list of Romeo and Juliet. You could do the same thing for every play. but that would take you quite a lot of trouble.
Mm.
And if you wanted to do the same thing with, with lots and lots of plays or lots and lots of texts in general, you might be wanting to work with thousands of texts, thousands of news texts, for example. If you're studying, I've done some work studying climate change texts. And then I may be dealing with many thousands of texts. And so I don't really want to do them one by one, but I might want to have a word list of each one, not a word list of the whole lot. So that's the advantage of working with a batch. Perhaps the main reason why that is so is because of this, the keywords tool is K, the big K here on the main screen. That's for a keywords tool where you want to find the keywords, normally the keywords of an individual text. And so you might want to have, say, the keywords of Romeo and Juliet or the keywords of Othello, but it maybe doesn't make much sense to say the keywords of Shakespeare plays. So you might be wanting to work with individual texts. Let's put it like this, as a language teacher and as an observer of language, I'm often interested in a language. As a student of keyness, of key words, my focus is the text. My focus is no longer really the grammatical structure or the things that language teachers are often interested in, but my focus will be a text and what it's about. Interestingly enough, obviously our students, if they watch a movie, they want to know what happens in it. They're interested in what things are about. And historians and medical people and psychologists and so on, they're very interested in what the texts they study are actually about and what perhaps the key words are of those texts.
Right.
But a lexicographer will probably be trying to say what about words in general in the language. So these are different focuses. And some of the time, I think a focus on the text is very much what a language student will have, and perhaps a language teacher ought to have at least some of the time.
So just to, retrace or clarify what you just said, the difference between the word list and the batch is that you get to do multiple word lists in one go.
In one operation, yes.
One operation. So it's a lot easier rather than doing the word list individually or separately. That's maybe the first thing you would like to show under word lists. Would you then want to proceed? We're close to 4 p.m. But we can still go on. Don't worry about your questions.
Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to say, well, what about a word list that isn't just of single words,
right,
but a word list of two or three word phrases or groups. So what I'm now going to do is I'm going to go a new process and so on. Oh, I've only got one text chosen, so I need to clear that and get my Shakespeare again. There's Shakespeare, and there I've got my 37. And now I'm going to make an index file. So I click on the folder choice thing, and I'm going to click to make I type in here Shakespeare MCRN, and I'm ready to make it construct an index for me. So it's going through the same place again, and it's working through them, and it's building something which is called an index. It's going to look exactly like a word list. So you might say, well, what's the point of that? It's because the index knows the position of all the words and all the neighboring words in the corpus of text that we've been looking at. So it looks at first sight just like a word list, and there it's appearing now. And the words are the same words as you've seen before. And I've imagined all those frequencies and everything should all be the same, right? But now, if we say now, compute clusters, then a cluster is the term I've used to mean, 2 or 3 words together. The question then is, what do we mean by a cluster? Well, I'm going to say I want to have anything from 3 to 4 words in it. It must occur at least 3 times. And well, minimum text is 0 here, so it's not fussing about how many texts each one appears in. And I'm going to do all of the words to make a word list like that. And let's just set it going. Now, down the bottom here, you can see that it's working its way through alphabetically. And when it gets to Z, then that's when it's going to finish. If you get fed up and want to stop it, you press this exclamation. And that's the sort of stop in a panic kind of system that one can use. Sometimes you set a process going and then you say, oh, why did I do that? It's going to take ages. This is going to take a little time. It's in the letter C now, so it won't take that long. And what is it doing? It's looking to see each word, like the, and, I, of, all those words you can see on the screen. And then it's saying which words come beside it each time. Every single one. There are 26,000 cases of the, and which words belong with the. And it's saying, give me each 3-word or 4-word string, and let's add to a kind of word list. And eventually, when it finishes, it's going to give us a word list organized in the same sort of way as the single word list, but with 3 to 4 words in it. So we've now got up to the letter I, still got some further work to do.
Hi, Mike. Sorry, just to cut you
Go
off.
ahead. Yes,
there.
please.
I just want to inform everybody that I'll be sharing another link just in case we got cut off, because it's already, we're approaching 4.
Yeah.
Just in case, okay, if we got disconnected or the session ends.
Where are you sharing a link in the link we had before?
In the chat box, Mike.
In the chat
Sorry,
box.
yeah, in the chat box.
I
just shared the
MCRN July webinar, that one.
Yes, this one, just in case.
Pigeonhole.
No,
in the chat.
our chat box of the Zoom meeting, this Zoom meeting.
But if the Zoom meeting closes.
Just in case, but if
Just in case,
but if, like you predicted, if everything goes well and it's still running after 4,
we'll just maintain. Yeah.
But the chat box could close. I mean, the whole Zoom session could close, wouldn't it? Then we wouldn't see the chat box either. Surely you need to put a link in Pigeonhole.
Yeah, you can do that too. Me.
Yes,
it actually has shared it with everyone on the chat box with 1 minute to go. So people can actually already click on the link just to stand by on a different tab.
Oh, I see. I can see it now. Yeah.
All right.
But
I think I'm just gonna gamble on this and think that it's gonna do what you say. Like even at 4, it's not gonna stop, because I didn't get any reminder of it ending.
I need to select it though, so I've got it remembered. Otherwise, it might just disappear on me.
It's all right.
Okay. Right. Yeah. Well, anyway, we're still going, aren't we?
Yeah, we are.
I make it 8:59, or in your case, 3:59.
That's correct.
Yeah. So we've still got 1 more minute for us to get cut off, but I think we won't get cut off. But let's hope for the best.
That's
now.
Right.
We've got very exciting results. Look at this 3-word list, right? It's not very exciting, is it? This is the, right? The most frequent 3-word string in Shakespeare is this is the. It's obviously something longer than that, and it is a, and there is no, and that I have, and that I am, and it is not. And then we get a formula, good my lord. So that is much more significant in Shakespearean terms, I think, than this is the, or there is no. There is no comes in all sorts of language, doesn't it? But it's always followed by there is no something, there is no butter, there is no sugar. Good my lord is much more interesting. And what's the matter? Fare you well. So these are sort of greetings and leavings formulae. All the world. Now that's interesting. All the world. Can we do a concordance of that, or will we just get all? I think, yeah, we are getting just all. It didn't work the way it should, but it should give me all the world. So let me do that manually then. And
just to share with you, Mike, with the the one that I'm using, the previous version, right? I mean, the 8th version, but the 62-bit is working fine. When I compute the concordance for your clusters, it will show up.
Does it? Yeah, good. Well, yes, I'm not surprised. The 32-bit version of Wordsmith I still have, of course, and any license that people have. Are we still here?
Yes, we are.
Yeah, something's. Oh, I see you're sharing screen. Okay. Yeah.
No. It was just, it's you still.
No, I've got another. I'm seeing Wulan Fauzana's screen.
Oh, but I did not.
Yeah, there we go. It's gone away again.
Okay.
Yeah. It's because you've allowed sharing screen, anyone to share screen.
Right.
That's what happened. Right.
Right.
Not a problem. The 32-bit program isn't being developed any further, and I'm only one person, so I can only put my efforts into the 64-bit, and this concordance of all the world didn't work, but it should be easy to fix that. And this is what you would do if it was working as it should be doing. There's your all the world.
That's right, Mike. If you could, on that note just there, could you just briefly tell us the main difference between the 62, 64-bit?
Yes, the problem with the 32-bit software, which most software is 32-bit still, is that it doesn't use the machine's memory very efficiently at all. It only really uses at any time 2 gigabytes. And your machine probably has 16 gigabytes or maybe more, 8 gigabytes minimum nowadays. And many machines would have 16 or more. So there's a lot of the machine's resources that are just not being used, and that makes it inefficient. So I've gone for the 64-bit, which is much more up to date, really. And I'm migrating the processes across, and have done most of the work, but it's not all quite completed. So your license, any license that people have, is valid for both forms, and both forms can be used.
Other than that, all the features are still the same?
The features will be gradually changing over as improvements come in. Then on anything that doesn't work right in the 32-bit will never get fixed.
Right.
So there are things in the 32-bit which are working well and are not in the 64-bit yet, or are not working as they should. Right. So that's the situation. But I would recommend people starting now to be using the 64-bit because it is basically working okay, although there will be little defects and things. And if they want to go back to the 32-bit, they can see it in that.
I'm still satisfied with it, Mike. So I was
okay. Well, you carry on if you wish. Right.
All right. Please carry on then.
Okay, doke. So what we got then was a way of making a word list which consists of clusters, right? And that's the only way you can do it in Wordsmith is to make an index first, and then use the index to generate these forms. Okay. Now, so we've made a word list, we've made a word list batch, we made an index, we made a concordance. Okay, so now let's do another concordance and close that. I'm not going to bother saving it. And what if I wanted to do a concordance of more than one thing? So I've got the Shakespeare plays and I want to do a concordance of love and a concordance of, say, kiss, right? Then the way I do it is separate those with a /, right? And I'm going to even just put in hate as well. So it doesn't all have to be positive. And I've got 3 words and it makes a concordance. What do we actually get? Well, you see, we get all of them muddled up from the same plays. Okay. Now, when you get a concordance, here we've got 2,255 different lines in our concordance. So that's a lot to look at. It's going to take ages to read each line. One of the obvious things to do is to do a sort and try to sort out the lines a bit. Basically how we read a concordance is largely vertical, unlike reading a normal piece of text. So how do we do the sort? Well, we click on the top bar and then it says sort. And how do you want to sort? By the word to the left, one position to the left, or the center word. The center word in our case was kiss, love, and hate. So let's say we're going to sort by the center word, and then we're going to have a second sort by the word to the right. So I'm going to just choose center and R1, word 1 to the right. Right, and that will be an ascending sort. So let's have a look. Okay, put it back to the top. We've got hate was the first word of hate, and kiss and love in alphabetical order. Hate comes first, and so it's hate, hate, and then we can look down and see what is largely hated. That's the last line of the hate is 164. There are not very many hates. Fortunately, there's much more loving and kissing going on than hating, perhaps, because we've got 2,255 lines altogether, right? So that's the end of the alphabetical order hate. And then we've got kiss starting here. And I see quite a lot of, perhaps unsurprising, kiss her, kiss her, kiss her, kiss her burial. That's an unusual idea. Kiss her, kiss him, kiss his hand, kiss his dirty shoe, kiss his feet, kiss his hand, kiss his hand. Quite a lot of kissing hand, and kiss his foot. I think this is all to do with respectful behavior. It's not a romantic thing at all going on, although some of the kissing will be romantic kissing, but some of it will not. Some of these are sort of formalities of the kind of Shakespearean language. And then so we've got a whole lot like that, and kiss thee, kiss thy, and so on, and kiss thy hand. There's a lot of hand, and then we've got a concordance with love, a whole lot of words to do with love. Now that is a bit confusing, probably, because we've actually probably got too many words. We searched on too many words at the same time. So
I kind of like that shortcut.
You like it?
Yeah,
okay, well,
shall
I just repeat how I did it?
Sure.
I'll just go back, and I went File, New, and then I put love /kiss /hate. That was how I did it. Another way of doing it would be to have some words in a little text file. And so I could have some words. Let's see.
I mean, just to add, it's a neat kind of way to already have words that you are interested to look for, and all you got to do is do the / or instead have a list in a notepad and then upload them, because these would be handy if you had more.
This is convenient, but there's a limit to how many words how much space you can take on that. So I can't remember what the limit is, but it might be only something like 120 characters or something. So you can't type a lot in there.
But even if you do have a lot, you can upload or load the list that you're showing.
Yeah, well, that's what you could do. I've just loaded a little sample list of something or other there, and I don't know whether that would work or not. But if I load it, then I've got some items to choose, and it's going to do a list with the words that were in that particular set, which includes a whole lot of the and so on. Let's see what we get. Yeah, there we go.
Yep.
The and will and it. They're not interesting words, but I just wanted to show that that's what you can do. You can have a little text file which contains your search words.
Yeah, these are going to be really helpful for those who already have a set of words that they want to investigate. And this is usually pertaining, a corpus-based kind of approach style rather than driven. I was just wondering which maybe you're going to talk about next is the cluster bit. Sorry, what was it? Can Mimi help me with this? All of a sudden I'm forgetting the exact word. You would be wanting to look at the collocates. Sorry,
yes, the collocates. Okay, let's do that, because that's quite an interesting thing to do.
Yeah.
I'm going to just forget about that particular list I did just now. I got distracted because my wife was passing me a cup of coffee.
Oh, that's so nice. Yeah, it has been running quite a long bit now here.
No, it all is well. Okay, so I'm not going to save anything there. Right, so let's go a new list, and I'm just going to take the word here, the word kiss only, and do a concordance of that. Okay, now I've got a concordance of the word kiss in Shakespeare. There are 184. And kiss the earth, kiss a dish, kiss a hand. We saw some kiss hand, didn't we? Let's have a look at the collocates now. This is the collocate list here, and they're ordered by frequency of the words that we've got. They're ordered by this total column. There's a whole lot of zeros here with a whole lot of statistical things which we need to fill in. It'll make our life a lot easier for studying. And so I want to compute relationships. And for that, I need a word list of the Shakespeare plays, the same corpus that I did the the search for the word kiss. So I find the Shakespeare plays that I made. What was it? There, Shakespeare all plays. That should do it. And the column for relation, I'll leave that as total and press OK. Now, it's now computed a number of different collocational statistics. It's going to give us a whole lot of numbers. And what's all this about? What sort of magic is this? Well, if you think about it, what we want to know is something like, if you've got a word like kiss and then a word like hand in Shakespeare, how often is the word found kiss with hand, and how often are they found separately? So you just get kiss with no hand in the context nearby, or how often do you find hand with no kissing going on in the context nearby? And we use that number to be able to make a sort of statistical analysis. And there are these different statistics that have got different initials to label them that are typically used. All of them simply look to see how the words belong with how many times hand is found, how many times kiss is found, and how many times they're found together. But they use different formulae for ordering the results. So if, for example, we take a Z score, then we order them by Z. What did I do? I have my list and I click the letter Z, and it says sort, and I want to sort it downwards using the Z score. So I press OK, and these words are all sorted now by this Z score, right? So if we forget about the word kiss that we're actually interested in itself, the first word that comes with the highest Z score is the word hand. And then lips and rod. I don't know why a rod is relevant to it, but it's probably something in religion, I should imagine. And loving and Kate and whole and book and feet and so on. There's kissing of feet. Remember, we saw that before, right? And then kneel. Now, is kneel and embrace and neck. These are words which you can kind of guess why they might be related to this kiss as a sort of, I think a kiss as a formal greeting, as well as a romantic kiss, of course, that may be going on here. So they're ordered by how much they are related to each other, these terms are now, and not just simply by how often they appear. The various different statistics will make certain words float up high or low. So if I go for an MI score and try that, then I will find fairly similar words to what we found before. The ordering hasn't changed much. If I go for a dice, then I will find.
Actually,
again,
you had rod
similar.
very high there, Mike.
Pardon?
Earlier with the MI, the rod was the highest collocate. So it actually jumped.
It moved slightly, yes, but there's still the same sorts of words where MI cubed, let me make sure they're always at the top. Then the word and has come up higher, and thy and the, you see, which is a bit surprising, really. You'd say, well, why was the particularly related to kiss? Right. But obviously it means that there is some connection in terms of that particular statistic.
Correct.
And so on. There are a whole series of statistics with a T-score. You will get and die and so on, and hand. Hand is still appearing high. And if we do a log likelihood, we'll probably find, I think, the function words were more likely to come up high. No, not too much so. So they vary a little bit according to how they're ordered. And there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 different statistical tests that can be studied. But anyway, let's just leave it on the Z that I did before. And now, if we say, okay, I want to actually see these, then if I select that item there and double click it, it says, do you want to show Rod as a colloquy of kiss, or do you want to compute a new concordance? I'm just going to choose to show it. And here we go. It is taken the two cases, there are only two cases of kiss the rod that are in the Shakespeare plays. There's only two cases anyway, and it's put them up at the top and it's colored them blue and red so that you can see them. And you can do the same sort of thing here. If you say, okay, now I'm going to go over to sort the words by, I want to see what is the word that comes to the right of kiss. So I'm going to sort by R1 over here, and I click on R1, and then if I pull it up to the top, the word that most often occurs to the right of the word kiss is the, kiss the, but then kiss your. There are so many columns here, it's difficult to actually see this, and I can't easily show it on my screen here with this large font. If I click on R2, that's two words to the right, then the kiss something hand, kiss something lips, right? And so we can say, okay, I want to see those. There should be 5 cases of kiss something lips. Can you show them to me? And just select what it is you're looking for and double click, and then it should show that. And there we go, right? So this is how you can sort of follow a concordance up. You are getting the collocates, and then you're saying, I want to actually see this better.
Can I ask a question, Mike?
Yes, go ahead.
Which score would you think is the best for collocates? The usual being MI?
None of them. They all work. All of those statistics work by saying, as I said before, with hand and kiss, how many times is it found in the whole corpus? How many times is it found? Are they found together? That's the information they all use. Now, if you think about it, let's say, or how can I put it? If you think about relationships between words and compare them with the relationships between people, so how many times do you find a particular person near another particular person? That would be an indication, if they're always found together, if they're often found together, you could say, oh, those two people are basically friends. I see them in my school. They often appear together. And therefore, that's the sort of statistic the computer is using, saying these two words are found together. And then you're assuming that that means they're friends. Now, obviously, a word like the is going to be found with lots of words anyway. So it's not quite the same as a friendship relationship, because the is such a prominent word. There are no people that are at all like the. The is a very special word, and all those top grammar words are so frequent that they're going to come with almost every word. So that already makes the comparison a bit dodgy. Another thing is that we do know very well that human beings, the relationships between human beings is very, very common for you to like somebody, but they don't like you back, or they like you like them a lot and they like you a bit. And so this is absolutely normal. And, you can't be a human being and not realize that from the age of about 2. Now, in the case of words, I think the same thing applies, but the statistics that we've just been using don't take that into account. They merely say, how many times do I find kiss? How many times did I find hand? And how many times are they together? It's just a matter of together, or it isn't as if, you know, there's a relationship going on. The whole matter is quite complex. And so all of those statistics they're standard ones in corpus linguistics, those are, but they're all defective in the sense that they don't really take into account quite the full relationships, I think, that words have with each other, but using this parallel of thinking about humans.
Or maybe just to add on to what Mike has said, it would be important for us to understand which statistical test measure what, and then what you would like to look at and how that would guide later on to then support the claim or arguments you're making with the concordancing, because that's where you understand the context that Mike is trying to say. Although I understand the question, we normally have to decide on that for ourselves as a guiding step, if you will, on what to look further. Yeah. So, you know, it's really subjective and it's depending on the stats. But I just like to...
Sorry, I was going to say another thing that's worth mentioning is that these corpus tools give you evidence. They don't give you proof. So they never give you an answer. They only give you a pointer.
Right.
And so that's why if you've got something that you're beginning to see in the text, you need to actually study it and look at the concordance and see whether how much you can confirm it.
That's a good reminder, actually, Mike.
The same when we come to do a keyword analysis, perhaps we could do that next, and then we can see how that will work.
And then, if I may, maybe we could have to end after you do the keywords demonstration, because we do have questions in the pigeonhole for you to take before time is up.
Yes,
Thank you.
with pleasure. With pleasure. Okay, well, let's just do a keywords analysis here. We've just touched the outline, but let's go for keywords and file new. And we need a study word list. So I've got to take Romeo and Juliet. Where's Romeo and Juliet? Did I make it? Okay, I've got one here. Romeo and Juliet, there we go. And then I want a word list of all the corpus to compare it with. That's how the keyword procedure is going to work. What did I do? I chose a word list made with Wordsmith of Romeo and Juliet, and a word list made with Wordsmith of all the 37 Shakespeare plays. And I'm going to make a keyword list now. I can't make a batch because I'm only working with one. So it goes through and it reads all of the text, all of the words in Romeo and Juliet, every single word, and it looks to see if it can find them in the overall word list of all the plays, of all 37 plays. And then it does some statistical comparisons, and it comes out with the words which score highest on a so-called BIC score. And what are they? Well, a lot of them are names of characters. So Romeo and Tybalt and Juliet and Nurse and Paris and Montague and King and Mercutio are all people. Then Thursday is mentioned in the play. Something happens on Thursday, and the friar. And then we get this word your coming, and it seems to be suggesting that your is somehow rather unusual in this particular play. It's coming, or let's have a see, this word at the top, Romeo, is coming 115 times in the play, and that represents 0.5% of the words in the play. And in the reference corpus, the RC reference corpus, the same word comes 115 times, in other words, in that play only. And that represents only 0.01% of the words in the overall collection. And that's how the process is working. Same thing applies to the nurse. The nurse comes, she comes 39 times in this play. And overall, in the whole set of Shakespeare plays, it comes more times. It comes 83 times, which represents overall 0.01% of the words in Shakespeare plays, a tiny percentage. But in Romeo and Juliet, the word nurse comes 0.2%. It's far, far higher. It's about 20 times higher or something like that than you'd expect. And that's why the word nurse is a key word here. And so that's what, when we do that sort of analysis, we're finding the key words. But I think I'll cut that all short because we're low on time and we need to go through to have some questions. This is where the words come in these different keywords appear. So Thursday comes in a little batch around about here. You see, there's no mention of Thursday at all until we get to about 5/8 of the way through the play. But Romeo's coming throughout, and then there's this heavy burst of Tybalt, character who has a fight and dies, coming just at that point in the play, about halfway through, and so on. But that's a keyword analysis, and that one has the focus of the text that I mentioned earlier.
That's right.
Okay, I think I'll have to stop there though.
Yes, Mike. That was great, actually. Thank you so much for all that you have shared within this very short, limited time. But because I am aware that we have questions, can I pass this over to Ayadid to read? You can look at the pigeon, maybe not you, but it's actually Ayadid that would have to. Oh, there you can see.
Okay, I've got some.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Right. Well, how can we use a word list in research? How can we interpret them in terms of linguistic features of these plays? I mean, what I just did now was to use a word list to generate a keyword analysis. A keyword analysis enables me to say, here are some words which are particularly prominent and therefore interesting in this particular play. And so from the point of view of a literary study, or in the case of, say, news text, you might have a political or historical or medical reason for going through and finding the characteristics of the plays and what the plays are about. Your question now is about the linguistic features of these plays, right? So we can distinguish things like the function words and the function words and the lexical words. And of course, the problem is that what Wordsmith did was simply to go through and find a string of letters and say, that's a word because there's a gap at either side. So the problem with that is that a word like May, M-A-Y, could be somebody's name, or it could be a kind of flower, or it could be a month of the year, it could be a modal verb. And so how would you know which it is? And if you wanted to work with that information, you could use marked up text. You get your Shakespeare plays or any other set of texts marked up for part of speech. And that's not going to be 100%, especially with Shakespeare. It's not going to be 100%, but you might get them marked up so it's over 90% or 95%. well marked up so that you'd be able to separate out the modal verbs from the proper nouns and so on in the case of a word like may. We haven't had time to look into that now, but Wordsmith can do that too, can help you to do that. But what you would need for it is text which is marked up. Wordsmith can't mark it up, right? And Wordsmith certainly couldn't mark up text in Arabic or texts in other languages. I know, some languages, but don't know any Arabic at all. And just trying to make the right to left performance of Arabic look okay on the screen. It's already makes my eyes go cross-eyed, because people do use words with Arabic and with Chinese and so on, but to me those are just shapes, and so it's quite hard to work with. Somebody asks here about the difference between Wordsmith and AntConc. Well, Wordsmith costs you money, AntConc is free, right? So basically I did Wordsmith first, and then Lawrence Anthony said, did I mind if he did something based on it? And I said, no, go ahead. And he's been successful with it. And there are lots of different ant this and ant that pieces of software that he makes. I think mine is good. I think his is good too. And so you can use AntConc. So AntConc is widely used, right? I regard Wordsmith as a kind of Rolls Royce procedure, but it's never perfect. I don't think AntConc is perfect. I don't think anything is perfect. There are always differences of emphasis, and all of them will have little problems. Okay, can I make it compatible with a Mac? It would be lovely if I could, but no. And I've got a question. Hi, is this working? I don't know what that means.
No, that
so
was
yes,
actually me. I was testing.
It is working, and we can see your question, but I don't know what you want to ask. Yeah.
We're just testing the app.
No, that was me earlier. I just wanted to check if
okay, now the lists seem to be changing.
I think you've covered them all. It's just that if we could ask anybody on Zoom, like right now, if they have any questions on top of their head, they can unmute themselves and go away and ask a question. Do we have any from the participants? Alex, yeah, go on.
Hi, good morning, I guess, time zones wise.
Good morning, yes.
Good morning. This doesn't really have anything to directly do with Wordsmith, but I am personally curious. Mr. Scott, can you share a bit on how you started out in creating Wordsmith, and do you have any tips for future people who are interested in developing their own Corpus software?
Thanks for the question, Alex. It was a hobby, basically, way back before nearly all of you were born. I was living in Mexico, and I had one of those programmable calculators, and you could program it to do a moon landing thing, and it was the 1970s, and I got interested in playing around with these things, toying. It was when first personal computers began to be available to people, ordinary people, to possibly buy with not too much money. So it was just a hobby, and I went and bought a computer, and I then went to work in Brazil, and I had this computer and a printer and no software. And so I had to develop my own software, or say, oh dear, that's an expensive mistake, and put the thing away in the cupboard and do something else. So I wrote software to basically help me to word process. And this is back in early 80s. And then it was just a hobby, really. It was just a hobby. I enjoyed this. It's a bit like people do crossword puzzles or Sudokus or gardening or any other task. And I just enjoyed the intellectual challenge. Can I do this? Can I get it to work? Can I beat the machine somehow and get this thing to happen? And so later in my professional career, I found that very few people like me who are linguists had this hobby of playing around with computers and were interested in this sort of programming. And I think it's not something that everybody really is suited to. It just happens to be suited to me, but then I'm not suited to running 100 meters in a hurry. In fact, I would never run 100 meters at all. So, you know, people have got different skills, and I know that my 100-meter running skill is down to actual zero. And luckily, I don't have to do it anymore, ever. I used to have to do it at school, but that was a long time ago. So I just found that that was something that I was sort of beginning to be able to do. And then I had students who wanted to take an interest in this. I had a student called Fadila, who was from Malaysia, and she was doing, was she from Thailand or Malaysia? No, I think she was from Malaysia, and she was looking at the vocabulary of her school textbooks. Yeah. Hello? Do you know her? Chun-Li, yeah? You said something. Yeah. Anyway, so Fadila wanted word lists of her vocabulary lists of lesson 1, lesson 2, lesson 3, lesson 4 of her school textbook. And I made a word listing program that would do that for her so that she could see whether the words in the new words that came in chapter 1 were repeated again in chapter 2 and chapter 3, or whether the poor student was expected to learn 15 new words in chapter 1, then another different 15 words in chapter 2, and another different one in unit 3, and so on, and basically not succeed because the words weren't getting reused enough. That was what she was interested in. And so that's what pushed me towards the development of what I'd started with, was just concordancing. Anyway, that's where the word listing thing came from and the keywords analysis thing came from. So what would I advise? Well, if you are, it's like anything else. If you're really interested, you'll have the motivation to go through with it, right? So Alex, you probably have the motivation, and you need the same sort of persistence that you need to be good at anything. So to be excellent at something, you really need to put in the hours, don't you? And they say 10,000 hours is what some popular book has claimed. But people who are really good at something have all spent 10,000 hours at least doing it, so the claim goes. And so I think it's your dedication. But the fact that to me it was a hobby made all the difference. I wouldn't be able to give you a recommendation as to how to get started now, because I started so far back in time that the different software tools and so on have changed, and I'm now used to certain environments that work well for me. That might, you know, if I was starting again, I'd probably start with something, a different environment that is more popular, that might give me other job opportunities afterwards, for example. But I don't think I can advise you on that. But in general, in life, my advice is go for what you're good at and what you like. If you go for what you like, you'll probably persist. If you put in the 10,000 hours or 1,000 hours or 500 hours or whatever it is, you will make progress.
Yes, I like that advice. I just want to check in with the Pigeonhole. Do we have any more questions from there? Does anyone else want to say anything? Do you have any questions? I am aware of our colleagues that may want to ask in Bahasa. So if you want, you can still ask, because Mimi and I, we speak Malay, so we can help to translate if you like. Just, you know, while they're thinking of any possible questions. on top of Alex, if I may, what do you think, Mike, about, you know, more and more of these softwares going online?
Well, yeah, that's it. Very interesting. There are very powerful online resources, which, for example, Mark Davis's stuff in Brigham Young University in the USA, which normally analyze stock corpora, existing corpora like the British National Corpus or American corpora that those people compile and build up, and then Sketch Engine and other powerful resources that allow, if you pay, well, in Mark Davis's case, it's free, but in Sketch Engine, you have to pay. Then you get access to very powerful resources, more powerful than Wordsmith's resources, and which give you pretty well instant results. You don't have to wait really at all, because none of the work is going on the fly, as they say, but it's all been pre-processed and built into a very powerful database. That is very, very useful indeed, and I've got nothing against it in the slightest degree. Wordsmith is much more well, it can handle standard corpora like the British National Corpus too, but it's for the kind of person that's doing a master's or a PhD and has built up a collection of their texts, maybe from their own students, like Fadil all those years ago in the 1990s, who was collecting the texts from her textbooks, her textbook that she was using for teaching purposes, or it could be stuff that you collect as a student of politics or a student of, medicine or psychology or academic texts in engineering or whatever. If you have to teach engineering English, you might have a collection of engineering texts that you wish to use to be able to think about and study. And Wordsmith and Conk, for that matter, are good at looking at your corpus of text and finding patterns in it. That's what all this corpus stuff is all about, is looking for patterns.
Yep, I totally agree with you. And just to add here that we do have students. Yes, I agree that Wordsmith Tools, based on my own experience, is a very stable software to be used by the students. So any students here that are joining, you could, or you want to ask any questions to Mike, if there's anything at all in terms of using his software for your studies. I think this would be the perfect chance to do so, with only around 12 minutes to go.
I will send, Aisha, I will send you a discount code too, so that people can get a discount on Wordsmith if wanted. Yeah.
Of course, they would welcome that.
I'll email it. I'll email something to you later on.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. Cheers. I have to say, while it is still fresh in the morning for you over there, Mike, it's a lot like Friday night going into the weekend over here.
Oh, is it? Yeah.
Maybe that's all to do with people who are probably just tired and just enjoying you showing them all these stuff, getting super overwhelmed with the information, with the allotted time that we have. Things like webinars, they require, just a short amount of time, but like Wordsmith, it really, I think, could not have done justice just for 2 hours. It could be like 2 days.
I'm afraid not. Yeah, there's a lot more, obviously, and there's so much that sometimes people write to me and say, how does such and such a work? And I don't even remember, because, it's like if you use Microsoft Word and then, I never showed you how to copy stuff into Word. So supposing you want to get this into Word, right? And you say, okay, those are the bits I'm interested in. I want just that much, right? Then, well, you've got lots of possibilities, but one possibility is just copy that by pressing Control-C, and then you've got a copy of that. And then in Word, let me just get a copy of Word up. Okay, now if I go Control V, oh, nothing happened. That's not good. Let me go back again and try again.
No worries.
Something went wrong there. Let's just get the. That's not what I wanted. Wait a minute. Oh. Right, now, supposing I've got that, and I say, okay, I want to select that and put that into Word, press copy, then I should be able to go paste. What I've pasted now in Word is the text, and it can be edited. So I've got kiss appearing in the various lines there, but I've got quite a lot of characters left and right, and I can edit that. So if I take out some words here, then just simply press delete there, they disappear. So that's an editable version. It's probably not what you want. So I can instead paste special. This is still within Word. And I paste as a picture, right? And what do I get? I get a picture that looks like what it was on the screen. Okay. And so you've got two different ways of pasting something. And the default in Word would just be to paste out the text, which you're unlikely to want unless you're wanting to, for example, prepare teaching materials.
Right.
And you might want that. If it's for a dissertation or something, you probably want a picture. And so you can do that. And another thing so that's Word. And then another thing you might do is you might say, save as, for example, an Excel spreadsheet. And I'm just going to save that with only those columns there, and perhaps just that little selection of lines, and it's done it. And so it says, do you want to open it? And there it is, right? So it's made an Excel spreadsheet with the Shakespeare text in it. Okay. So
yes,
there are
that's the
lots
output of the concordance lines and anything else that you can find on Wordsmith, which I think there's just one last question left on the Pigeonhole about your manual. Is it the same for this latest version?
Hang on a sec. Let me just find the.
That's all right.
What's this here? Oh, that's my. Let's get rid of that. No. And here we go. Yep. Is there a manual that you can download? With the 32-bit version, there is a manual, a PDF. With this new one, there's a help system. The help system is, if you right-click anywhere, you should be able to get a context help. And that is, in this case, it's going to the web and getting the help from the internet. It's not a local help, and it should be where I was. In that case, it was something to do with it's offering me what you can see and do in a concordance, because that's the context where I was in that particular case of having done a concordance. Okay, so all of that help system exists. It is possible and easy for me to make that into a PDF manual, but it's a bit of a problem because if I change anything, then it's a big text of 400 and something pages. It's hundreds of pages long, and I can easily make that available. That's not difficult for me to make available on my website. But the help system itself changes, and it's in the process of change. It needs to be in the process of change now because I'm changing from the 32-bit to the 64-bit. So it's better really to look at the latest version of it online.
I mean, I agree with you. It's just for practicality's sake. I do notice that there is more and more being added to the manual, the help, if you will, the help tool or function button there. And in my experience, it's very easy to follow, Mike. Now that you have hyperlinks, that's even better, because with the hyperlinks, you can just go on to the other window, read for further information, and so on and so forth. Right. I'm looking at
you're very kind, Aisha. I try to make the help useful, but it's one of the problems with Wordsmith is that I try to make all the settings and everything explicit, and therefore the help is quite long and detailed, because I think it's better for me to be explicit, but it makes it a harder read, I'm afraid.
Well, it depends really. And I think for students, like Muna here is saying in the chat box that, yes, I love the manual. It's very helpful, because you have actually kind of described it quite in detail. So, if anything, just, a suggestion for students, they can go on to the manual from previous, or maybe get the latest one on the Wordsmith website. And once you follow there, what you did not get enough from here, of course, because we're limited in time. But if you follow the manual, I think there should not be any problem for you following the step-by-step that Mike has prepared. And
I have one further thing. If you find it's not doing what it should do, write to me. I don't mind that. That's, really, that applies to all of you. You don't need to be, you don't need special permission to write to me. I usually reply. You always
reply, Mike.
I usually reply quickly too, because I don't want to build up of emails. And and if it's something that's wrong with the program, it's very helpful if you can tell me, so that I know that it needs fixing and somebody's wanting to do it.
I can actually vouch for that, Mike. I've been communicating with you in the past and also currently. So I can say that everyone who wished to ask Mike any questions directly to him, you can do that via email. And he's, like you said, happy to help. Thank you so much, Mike. With the time that we have, it's 3 minutes remaining. I'd just like to thank Mike again for, his time to join us today. It's very impressive that the whole thing, the development of Wordsmith Tools up until the 8th version is done by you. So it's really impressive. I'd like to, on behalf of MCRN, the Malaysian Corpus Research Network, we'd like to thank Mike and my colleagues here who have helped me along the way. The audience, for your time, spending the Friday afternoon and your questions. Thank you for coming. If you'd like, you can have an e-certificate, just like what we normally do. And that's the feedback form on the chat box that Mimi has just shared, along with the MCRN website, if Mike wants to check it out. Mimi also has shared that on the chat box there, along with an expression of interest form for those of you who are joining us and would like to share your work or research or any thing related to Corpus as well as applied linguistics. You can complete the form and we will be in touch. Any last words from you, Mike?
No, just a thank you. I've very much enjoyed this and enjoyed meeting you all, the MCRN that I hear so much about, and you're an active group. And it's nice that there's such an active group, and there's not every country that's got active groups. So that's absolutely brilliant.
Wow, that's such that means a lot to us. Thank you so much, Mike. Just to commemorate this experience, meeting, webinar, what you call it, could we have just share a photo for this event?
Have what?
A photo session. You could
photo session?
Yeah, you could just turn off sharing the screen, and then I'll just have everyone on the Zoom here. Let me remove the spotlight from you. And if I can just ask you to turn off sharing screen, Mike.
Okay. Yes, of course. Here you go.
Anyone would like to join the photo sharing session, please, turn on your camera so that we can have you instead of just your name there. It's not every time that we get Mike Scott to take a picture with us. So thank you so much for all of you again for your time. And if you would like to get in touch with us, please do visit our website and stay tuned for next month's monthly webinar. On the count of 10, is it 3? Mimi, would you help do this, or should I?
I'm sorry, I'm having a problem with
Right,
screen,
it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
I can do that too, and Anis would be doing the same thing, I think. All right, there are 2 pages, so I'm just going to do the first one for us. First page, I'm gonna count you down from 3, 2, 1. Hold on while I get the print screen working. I'm going over to the second page now, but I need to, let's pin Mike. I mean, how do I do that, huh? Can Anis help me? Not so familiar with Zoom. If I go to the second screen or second page, Mike is not on there. Anyway, if I may, 3, 2, 1, count you down. Another photo for the second page. If I can, I think what could work is only have the people with their cameras on. And can someone tell me how I do that again on Zoom? Don't know how.
I got that. I got that.
You got that. The one with the cameras on only.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much. So that was a wrap, everyone. Thank you for your time and have a pleasant weekend.
And well done for organizing this. Superb.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thanks, Mike.
Bye-bye. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you, Mike.
Bye.
Thanks, Mike.